Very cozy. Coming to you from Australia, the crisis actor country, for Revolution Radio, on revolution.radio, home to ideas, uncensored, fresh ideas. Can you sense an idea? You can sense its distribution, but the idea itself, I'm not sure. The station, important announcement, does not receive monies from anyone but you, the listener. So if you can donate, please do. The type of currency is good, including crypto. Crypto is okay. Nothing wrong with crypto. Volatile, but okay. Maybe you can't donate because things are not getting easier, I tell you what. As you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But you can tell people about the station, so tell them. And that helps because the more people listen, the more people are likely to donate. It's simples. It's mathematics. Yes. Today is the 20th of May, 2024, the year of our Lord. The year of our Lord. Not my Lord, but someone's Lord. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, and on your smart device. That's on the line all the time, by the way. So grab an app to listen. And there's so many now. There's so many apps. I mean, literally, right? So anywhere, including the space station. And, at home. Maybe you're on this at home. Home is good. Cozy little chair, armchair maybe. Maybe you're rich. You got a wing top. That'd be nice. On a Grace tabletop digital radio. Be nice. Some of those leather chairs. Maybe one of those, the really cool chairs. The Eames lounge chair. That's pretty neat. I'd like one very much, but they're super expensive. But you know what? The archives are free. They're not expensive. They're free. Eames lounge chairs are expensive, and they're like in the vicinity of like $10,000 US. Okay, what? Yeah, that's the thing. 10 grand, depending on the leather and wood option, I guess. There's some cheaper ones. But the archives are free. Options. There are options. I looked at the website. There are many options. Many wonderful options. But yeah, the archives, on the other hand, don't cost $10,000. They're completely free. So get in there and enjoy yourself. It's all good. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
it is the Dark Jungle.
Of course it is. And for myself, of course, the Daruk people. And we'd like to pay our respects, rather, to elders, past, present, and future. Thank you. Dave.
No.
Have you come across energy vampires? And I mean this seriously.
Yes, I completely understand. Yes, 100%.
So, an energy vampire is someone that you spend some time with and it completely sucks you dry of energy. You might have a good day, you might have a bad day, an average day, but there's a level of energy that you have, right? It's just maybe you got spring in your step. That's high energy. Or maybe you're just slouching at your desk, hoping the world will just to put you out of your misery. That's low energy, right? No, but an energy vampire sucks you dry of energy and leaves you feeling hollow. It takes a little while to bounce back from that. I had an encounter with a vampire of that sort, an energy vampire today. And man, I'll be honest with you, it tired me out. It really drained me. I hadn't noticed it before today.
Oh, okay.
Like the level of drainage, as it were. Maybe I'm just normally just very high. And
maybe your tank was a little more full last time.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be. Peppy Mackey. There's Peppy Mackey. Doesn't he look peppy? Yeah, he's a preppy. He's very peppy. What? Speaking of tank, petrol is cheap. If you're in Sydney area, I'd suggest you fill up your tank. It's going down.
You can, people.
Yeah, get it done. It's I filled it up earlier and it was quite cheap. Well, not cheap. It was cheaper. Not cheap. Cheap is the wrong.
Look, it's the same as if you're being strangled, and they let off the pressure just a little.
Oh, I can breathe a little more.
Just a fraction more. Becky, the prices went from $2.50 down to $1.80.
Yeah, I know. And you ask
however, the fuel that my car uses, which is 98, but those in America won't know it as 98. Just think about the highest gas you've got there.
It's premium petrol. It's got the highest burn rate, the highest octane.
A highest octane. So whatever that is there, it was still 210, still 30 cents greater than all the others.
That's the one I use as well. I have to use for my car also. But I mean, at least it's good for the engine. So they say. It cleans the engine while you drive. Yes.
Wow. Hello, you don't listen to advertising.
With brushes, feather dusters.
What an extraordinary coincidence. That happens to be the exact promotion material.
There are a couple of things I wanted to talk about before we talk about the obvious thing. Remember, this is Plato's Cave, so we're gonna take the unvarnished truth here. If you don't like it, leave now. Leave now. No, there's a couple of things that happened which I found really interesting. So you might have noticed that recently there were quite a few attacks with sharpened implements, right? Driving down to law changes, etc., etc. And now something else has happened.
Firearms have gone up.
Well, yeah, but see, in Western Australia, which is like half a continent, okay, that's how big it is. They've got gun laws. Maybe they're a bit more lenient than the rest of Australia. I don't really know. But there was this person who went to look for his ex-wife, couldn't find her at her friend's place, and proceeded to shoot the friend and her 18-year-old daughter, which I think, I mean, I have no words for that
it's
kind of
crime. It's not your target. What are you doing?
Yeah, but no, exactly. I mean, okay. Now, the new gun laws they're proposing and they're putting, rushing through their local parliament, they'll be stricter, and there'll be mental health checks, etc. Now, bear in mind, this guy was a legal gun holder. He actually had 2 different permits, one for historical and one for, I guess, sport shooting activities, like target shooting, whatever.
Yeah.
And he was allowed to own 13 guns under all those permits. And now the new law will restrict someone like that to 5 guns. So let's take a step back here, right? So explain to me how this tragedy could have prevented if this guy only had 5 guns instead of 13. He goes, "Ooh, I only got 5 guns, Dave. I'd better not commit this crime. I need 13 guns minimum to do something like this, something heinous of this nature. I need 13 guns, not 5. Oh, I'm foiled again. I'm sorry, but it's complete insanity." How?
I've got to answer your question. How? What would it have done? I'm going to say it would have quickened his choice, enabling him to leave the house sooner.
Maybe, right?
I've got to be stupid with this because never wasted opportunity. We know that's the phrase the government uses. And so knife crimes went down, and suddenly, when they're not reporting any more knife crime, it's now firearm crime, and they're just blown off the dust off some old resolution they never got passed last time. Let's do it now, quick.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think you're right, because there's no thought behind this. 13 guns, 5 guns, 1 gun, 20 guns. What's the difference? I mean, okay, 1 gun, it could maybe misfire, it could jam, right? So you want a backup gun, maybe 2. Okay, I can see how 1 gun, like restrictions to 1 gun, could limit you. I get that, right?
If he was a competitive shooter, his guns would be in really nice condition.
Well, there's that as well, right?
Right.
So it makes no sense. I mean, I applaud the mental health check. That's great. That's a good thing. I applaud all the other restrictions they might put on it. Maybe a safer place to keep it. I don't know, right? I haven't looked at the legislation, only what they mentioned. But going from 13 to 5 is going to do nothing to prevent crime like this. 0. It's everybody says, "Oh, we're going from 13 to 5 guns."
Hurrah! That's what everyone says.
Yeah, like it's a thing. It's not a thing. I mean, this is insanity. Okay. Stop for a second. This is what Plato's Cave is meant to do is highlight the insanity of what we're being told, and we just swallow it. Okay, oh yeah, that's good, right? No, It's not. It makes no difference. I mean, if you want to have gun laws that are tough and whatever, okay, I understand people being afraid of guns. I get it, right? I do. But we need this gun education, and we need to change our kids' diets. There's a whole bunch of stuff we need to do before gun laws are effective. Because if somebody wants to harm somebody else, they will do that. And you can't get rid of all of the sharp implements anyway. It's like,
even blunt instruments.
but this is the thing. You pick up a rock for crying out. Like, hey, I'm going to get some hate. Oh, well, you're giving people ideas, Mackie. What?
No. We're conversationally discussing this in a way that we use a bit of humor, but I'm going to be serious just for a second. Mackie's right. I don't think it would stop that. And if even the mental test, the test to see whether he was just maybe a little bit off kilter, yeah? If he's a competitive shooter, he's still got a reason to keep the guns. Do you know what I mean? Like, It doesn't change anything. Not a thing. And don't forget, people have their hands registered as weapons. You still have a whole list of things that are below that make the difference. Now, if your job is to cull wild pigs or kangaroos on farms, for instance,
yes. Look, it's insane, everybody.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. All I can say is here that it's being reported like, oh, what a victory. 13-5. Makes no difference. Everything else, though, is good. Like I said, mental health check, whatever. Okay?
That's right.
So that really bothered me because it was just nonsense. And people go, oh, yeah. That's, oh, wow.
I know, because they've just been, this is the dessert, you see. They've fed the main stories, and then suddenly here's the solution. Yeah, because the thing is this. Think about this. I don't know if you have any experience with firearms out there in the world. I do, and I have actually a lot of experience because I grew up with my grandfather. And anyway, the point is this. Now, if these are long arms, like rifles, nobody carries 5 rifles, or 13 for that matter. You can't. No.
Unless you've got a really, really big duffel bag or 2 of them, right? I mean, but if you carry them in there, you can't really use them immediately, right?
No, that's right.
Handguns, you're not going to have 13 handguns on you, and you're not going to have a mixture of either. So there's not going to, no one is going to carry 13 guns with them.
And you're not going to carry 5.
No. Or maybe if you're a pirate, maybe you have one in your boot, one under the eye patch, under your hat. I
like the old Western one, that flicky-outy one that comes from your wrist, from the sleeve, right? Yeah,
the little Derringer. Yeah, look, but look, let's be sensible. But you know what the other thing is, Dave? That really bothered me?
That's the wrong show. Let's be sensible. What's the other thing that bothered you?
Recently, we had 2, and fairly close together, we had 2 incidences of, I guess, mid-flight turbulence. Now, I have flown a lot in my life. I mean, a lot.
You and me have thousands of hours.
Oh, absolutely. All over the world. The longest flights possible between Sydney and, at the time anyway, between Sydney and Dallas, a number of times. And I've experienced some pretty bad turbulence. Nothing approaching this, certainly.
I've been really close to that one.
Right. But now we have 2 incidences within the space of, I want to say, less than a week, about a week maybe, and on the same route. So one was from London to Singapore, one was from Dublin to Qatar, I think, right? Or Dubai, maybe. But it's essentially it's the same.
Both are clear air turbulence.
Yeah, and
it's called
so I wonder, Dave. Now, let's just keep an eye on this. If there are any more of these, especially on that route, does that mean that something is changing the atmosphere? Is something happening in the atmosphere that causes? Because what it is this: it's like a hole. If you dig a hole in the ground, right, and you don't look,
you just twist an ankle.
That's right. You fall in the hole, right? 100%. And you go, okay, I fell in the hole, right? That's not good. And that's exactly what happens here. So air has got different densities. right? In order for monoplanes to achieve lift, to achieve takeoff, they have to compress a lot of air under the wings to lift them up. It's like when you're water skiing, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So all the air, and that's why the wings are shaped the way they are, sort of like curved inwardish type thing, right? And then they sort of collect air under the wing. That's why a plane can never. Well, there are two reasons a plane can't go into space. One, it doesn't travel fast enough to generate escape velocity. But the other one is it can't fly high enough because it can't go fast enough, right? Because the higher you go, the less atmosphere there is, the less particles, and the less lift. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you go fast, now if you put the speed, you get escape velocity. But what it also does, it allows you, if you were in a plane, it allows you to gather enough mass or volume, as it were, under your wing. So this, what they're describing, is an actual hole or an area of much less density, but it has to be pretty big for the plane. And apparently, in the second incident here, it lasted like 20 seconds, which is a long time.
Yeah. It's enough time for all the participants in the aircraft, including the pilots, to really contemplate their lives. Yeah. That's the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah.
And if you have a huge section of, say, the ionosphere stretched upwards using HARP, I'm not saying HARP's the cause here. HARP can do this, and it's advertised and written that it does this. You charge a column of air, and it stretches out the ionosphere, and then when you turn it off, the ionosphere, like an elastic band, springs back, and you get a solid column of air rushing down towards the Earth. Now, you can be over water, or it can be over land, it doesn't matter. And this column of air is just all of a sudden like a cylinder, but not a solid, but of air all moving downwards. If a plane enters that in clear air turbulence, you have to, and I think we spoke of this before, so I won't go into details. There's a way of being able to, like, swim out of the rip. We know this in Australia. You've got to swim across the rip, not against the rip. And you don't try to go up, because all you do is you'll cause your aircraft to stall. You accelerate through it, and while you're falling, you're getting faster and downwards, but you're also trying to increase your lateral speed so that you can exit out the other side. You can always pull back on the speed after you've exited fine. The last thing you want to do is pull up, and we all know this about wind shear. In America, this same phenomenon is called wind shear, and that is really bad when you're getting close to the ground because you don't have any way of recovering from it. It occurs in two ways, in two directions. In a storm cloud, it can go up and it can come down. So that's why when there's particulates in the air, Doppler radar can see the movement of the air, but if it's in clear air, it's invisible to radar and Doppler radar for that matter.
No, you're right. That's exactly. I mean, look, the thing is, there's no warning because you can't. Nothing picks it up. You'll know it when you're in it.
Oh yeah.
Well, quicksand. Not too late.
When everybody goes up, when everything goes up, when all the food, the trays, anything you had, drinks, people, even the trolleys that the air crew, the flight crew, as they're pushing, even they go up to the ceiling. Completely. I've been in an aircraft where it's happened, but I always keep my seatbelt on.
Same.
Always.
Same.
And I even try not to go to the toilet, because could you imagine being on the toilet?
That wouldn't be so nice.
Not so pleasant.
Not so pleasant.
If I can hold on, I'm going to hold on and not go to the toilet.
Look, I feel the same. 100%, my friend. You're absolutely correct. Now, having said that, it was actually during food service. One of those things.
That's
right. Which is worse.
Yeah.
But so
Did you see the damage internally inside the cabin?
Oh, it was like a tornado. It was just
totally.
But let's keep an eye. Seriously, everybody out there as well. Let's keep an eye on the route between Europe and, I guess, Asia, or that way, and see if anything else happens. Because it might get to the point where they might have to reroute air traffic if we discover that the conditions in the atmosphere have changed for whatever reason.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? And let's take this the next step. Could you imagine if this just started happening everywhere?
Oh, brother, yeah. I mean, would it be safe to fly still?
No.
I mean, the answer is probably yes, but you would have to be strapped in. They probably give you a lunch bag at the beginning of the flight, right?
It'll be blended into a pouch with a straw.
Mush. Yes, your mush. Enjoy your mush. You can have some more mush. Yeah, you're right. But they would have to come up with something which allows you. Do you remember the Fifth Element? You know, the space flight there, they all go into these capsules, you know, like these pods. And just sleep
instantly
there.
Go to sleep. That's right.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be the safe way to. You certainly could stack a lot more people on.
You could. And they were padded.
Yes, exactly. And if you knock them out with sleep gas, they'll
be limp enough to survive without injury.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get an adult diaper, if you go and for the longer flights and just go to sleep. And no, don't laugh, dude. Just
hang on. There is I laughed because my normal response to a quote like that is, "Oh, I remember you." See, that's funny. So yes, but I thought once in a blue moon is one thing. Getting 2 of them in a week, that's if we see another one, they're going to be having discussions in the back halls.
Well, you got it, and the thing is this, like I said, both Dave and I, we've flown.
COVID was bad for air flight, like the keeping an airline liquid, right? Liquidity of an airline.
Oh yeah.
But no, you see this as soon as they start to go, well, we can't insure anybody now. Then there won't be flights.
I'm channeling my steampunk, inner self.
Can we get balloons again?
Well, dirigibles, yes. Why not?
Yes.
Get lighter than air. No lift required because you're floating because you're lighter than the surrounding air, and in fact you're big enough. Even if there were like a big hole, chances are it's going to be a fairly gentle descent because you're not relying on lift, right? And even if the air density changed, you wouldn't plummet.
If the air density lowered, you would go up.
Well, that's the thing, right? So I think we mothballed our Zeppelins too soon, my friends. I think we
the humanity.
That's the one. Because ultimately, they are probably, these days, in my opinion, they would be cheaper to run. They would be more environmentally friendly, and depending on the size of them, you could transport a lot more goods and passengers than you could with a plane. Right? It's just we're used to planes in the economy, and our facilities are all for planes. I mean, the airports could be, repurposed. They're close enough to what you need.
Yeah.
You could. I mean, these airships could dock at skyscrapers.
Could you imagine if we really upscaled them, like we do with shipping container ships, right?
Yes, and redundant systems. Safety.
Yeah.
I mean, these days, an airship these days would be a very different proposition to 100 years ago. Right?
Well, it's not going to be coated in what was it called again? Thermite.
Flammable.
It was thermite. It was iron oxide.
It was flammable.
Yeah, iron oxide and aluminium powder.
Yeah,
those two things you might remember from something from 2001.
Oh no, we remember.
Thermite. It's used in railway track joining.
Yes.
You can join 2 railway tracks in situ by a mixture of it, and it's an exothermic reaction,
yes.
And it's quite good, but not on the skin of a hydrogen dirigible, I dare say. No. If we could go back in time and give some advice to that company, they'd still be around.
Oh, they would still be here. Yeah, not the most future-proof invention. But look, all jokes aside, I do believe that zeppelins or dirigibles or balloons or whatever you want to call them are in fact if, certainly a way into the future. I think, honestly, I do believe they would be a lot safer.
Lighter than air travel with some solar panels, right?
Yeah.
Electric motors.
Yeah, it might be slower, okay,
No, but
right?
enjoy the time.
But it's still faster than a ship, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be infinitely safer. It really would, right? And I think, with all the redundancies in place that you would put in there, et cetera, I think it would be a lot more economical because you wouldn't burn as much fuel. Right?
UBI, Becky. UBI, universal basic income, I reckon. And then you won't need to have a job, and your holidays are no longer reliant on in America 2 weeks, in Australia 4 weeks, unless you've got your 10 years, then you get 5 weeks.
I just triggered my memory. Last night I watched a Michael Moore, or part of it anyway, a documentary called Where to Invade Next. It's made in 2015 or 16, I can't remember one or the other. And he goes to Italy, and you tell him how many holidays they get, paid holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some crazy, something like 12 weeks a year, paid holidays
grief.
plus. In December they get 4 weeks extra, like Singapore, we get like a bonus month paid out.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, yeah, I think that's good. Even the factory owners and all that,
Everyone loves it.
And when he tells them how much Americans get, really? That's how much America. 2 weeks. If you legally, you actually get none. In America, there is no minimum annual leave requirement in the law.
Really?
None. Doesn't exist.
But you get health and dental and stuff like that, depending on your arrangement.
Yeah. I mean, healthcare. I mean, depends on the employment contract, but I mean, most companies give 2 weeks out of the goodness of their heart, but legally they are obliged to give none. Wow. So none are necessary, which is like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, sorry, just triggered my mind because I was thinking, everybody wants to move to America. I don't think so. It's a massive discrepancy. But look, I think airships would be a good thing, which brings me to something that really
Bigelow working on an airship version?
I think he might be.
He was.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Maybe he knew something we don't, right?
Mm.
I mean, I'm watching Skinwalker Ranch, and there is something above Skinwalker Ranch that is interfering. And it shows up on LiDAR, it shows up on all kinds of instrumentation, it interferes with the GPS signals. It's insane. But Dave, what do you think? And this is serious stuff right now, because something is happening I didn't think I would see, at least not in my lifetime. We're seeing Israel becoming a pariah state. Yeah. Now, if you had designed it this way, you couldn't have done a better job. And I find it astounding that in the face of all the things that are happening, Netanyahu persists on his course. Now, I understand within Israel, his political future depends on him staying the course because of those two extreme right-wing members of his cabinet.
Yeah.
I get that. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, is my political survival really worth turning my nation into a country that has nobody on their side, especially Israel? I mean, to me, that's just, I don't know, Dave. What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, it's kind of crazy. I know that there was a bunch, I think 7 or 12 countries that have all declared that they recognize Palestine as a state. Right? And I think that's really interesting, especially at this time in our crazy hot war climate that we've got. It's like, oh, it's summertime, but for wars, it's a hot climate now, right? For wars. Why not? I mean, everyone else is doing it. This is something else. Yes, I've said this before, and I'll say it again on this show because I think it's relevant. A people who have been persecuted for so long. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? It's like the bully It's like the person, a bully at school, but they're getting abused when they're at home. Yeah? It's passing it on. They've got to get that out of their system, I suppose. They need some kind of control or something. I'm not sure. I don't know the motive around it. And I think kind of like done is done. Enough is enough. I just wish no one was getting killed in any war. I'm disappointed in all of us as a planet for not being able to restrict your own feelings rather than, well, I don't know, well, I don't like them very much, I'm just going to take them out. It doesn't matter who you are. If you get into the position of a leadership role in anything, you should be actually more caring about the people that are below you, about the people that you have to deal with. I'm watching this like an extension, I'm going to say this straight out, an extension of capitalism, where winning is the only goal and it doesn't matter.
Yes. And if someone else wins as well, that's a loss.
It is. That's still a loss. That's right.
Yeah.
The only way to win is that you're the only winner.
Yeah. Zero sums.
Yeah.
And look, that's a world I don't want to play in, but that's a world we are increasingly playing in, and we seem to accept that too. It seems to be something we accept, and it's not something that I endorse. I believe there are scenarios where everybody can walk away okay, right? We might not all be super winners. We might not all take home the prize, but I think there are scenarios, and I think the majority of scenarios are like that, where we can all walk away feeling okay. Okay? Because if you get your way all the time, a lot of people will lose, and that's the world that we're in right now. And you can see what's happening. It's not hard. I mean, there's some people that don't care. Forget the news. Forget looking at any news. Forget anything that you see or hear.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out in the world that just don't care about you at all, or any of us, for that matter. Why? Because, well, they don't. They care about themselves, and even to the point where it might even mean their own demise. Right? It's actually insane, some of the things that are happening, some of the things we put forward. It's like you go, what? How could that even be considered? How could you even do this? This makes no sense. Right? It's like we keep shooting ourselves in the foot, and then we've run out of foot, we start shooting ourselves in the head. Oh, I don't have any more foot to shoot myself, and I'll just shoot myself in the head. That's where we are. Yeah? There's no balanced approach anymore that I can see. It's winner takes all. I mean, how could you, just to move away from Israel for a second, but how could anyone in Russia that is thinking for themselves, maybe does their own analysis of the situation, think that what is happening there with the Ukraine is a good idea? Can we wear them down eventually? Yes, you've got more people. Sure you can.
Yeah.
But
it's only a numbers game.
But how many people are you willing to kill? Because you're no longer sending them to die, you're actually killing them. You're making a choice. You know they're going to die, so that's killing, right? Yep. If you send someone to a war, there's a 50% or better chance they come back, right? If you send someone to war in harm's way, you don't send them to die, right? But it's a possibility. But this is a certainty now for Russian soldiers. It's a certainty. It's no longer just a possibility. Now that you will die. Chances are that you will die. Right? If you survive, that's the lucky few. Okay? That's the lucky few. You probably will do. Yeah, you're gonna die. And yet people, it's still being done, and people still go. They still go. Off they go. Yes, into the machine. I think the prisons are empty.
The prisons are pretty empty. Yep.
Right. I mean, that's a saving, I guess. But people, and still they do it.
I think
it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think this next half a year we're going to see the nationality of the people fighting change.
Yeah,
That's
They're
what I
more
think is going to
mercenaries.
happen.
Look,
Yeah,
it's been
mercenaries, but also allied countries are going
Oh yeah,
to muck
completely.
in and try and assist. That's what I think is happening already, but I've got no proof outside of a couple of people talking about it.
Well, they certainly think that Syrians have gone in to fight.
Hmm.
Um, and we know that Nepalese have gone into fight. They were recruited by Russians in Nepal, believe it or not. And a few other nationalities have been recruited as well to fight. So yeah, no, that's happening. And they're being gypped. That was like the documentary. The Nepalese fighters, they were gypped by the Russians. No, you can't get paid yet. They haven't been here long enough or whatever. I don't know. I don't
That's
know what
right.
the story was, but they didn't get paid. So I mean, come on, this really. I mean, that's essentially that's what you. If you don't pay your soldiers, then
You haven't done enough warring yet.
yeah. And this is
War
another
some
thing.
more.
Yeah, but let's say you're killing off all your young men. And
Mhm.
it's men really, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
But you're killing hundreds of thousands. This is hundreds of thousands now.
it is.
Of
Yeah, that's
of,
right.
of young men that you're killing off, and there will come a point in the future where Russia will go. Where are all our young men?
Yeah.
What happened? They're all dead, and there'll be this flood of Russian brides going overseas.
Oh, you just stole my joke. Yes, the Russian bride websites are going to actually see a boom.
Yes.
It'll be a boon for them, and I think outside the box with this one.
Yeah.
So I look to see who benefits. Who benefits from this? The reduction in population within Russia and Ukraine, for that matter, and any other allied country that decides to participate. Remember that World War One and Two, we saw a massive reduction in say, let's call birthing age males. The last group of people to leave Australia were the Americans, and we saw a lot of American men and Australian women get together. And then we ended up with the boomers, and we still had a gap. There was a gap, and it's visible on the what it was then, visible on the spectrum from the census that's filled in every year. The population had a huge loss. So without those wars, and I've said this before, and certainly my wife and I have spoken about this, we wonder what the population would have been like had those two wars not happened. We'd be easily 10 billion. Easily. Right now. So I'm not going to ask whether it's the necessary thing that our civilization needs to do every once in a while. I just, rather than ask that question, because I think that's not the right question to ask, is there a way of going about the slow reduction in population, and I'm not turning into Bill Gates, is there a way to do this over a significant long view where we're, socially and financially and morally stable enough to end war going forward? Do you know? Because at the moment we all have such vastly different ideas about what the world should look like, and it's never going to make it work. It's like everyone running in a different direction in a large balloon. It's never going to be just a balloon. It's always going to be, horribly shaped, never be able to accomplish anything. So that's the way I see it, because at some point, and you've got to admit it to yourself, that at some point we will have a world government with a world currency, with a single amount of rules, and by that stage, if science hasn't eliminated religion, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Oh, look.
Because that would be the normal evolution of a group of people who have decided to get along.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think we're now at a technological state, because you need technology
Where it's
for
actually
this.
possible, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, before you could conquer the planet by conventional means, but you can't hold it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the empires that we have had up to this point were fairly local empires. I mean, the biggest empire, arguably, was the British Empire, which was held together very loosely.
Chewing gum and string.
Yeah, I mean, it was commerce that held it together.
Some receipts.
It was tough, right? It wasn't easy, and there were constant wars, constant uprisings. There was constant strife. There were massive garrisons all over the place as well, right? So it wasn't. These days, though, I think Dave's point, it's a lot easier to achieve control. I mean, we have the technology to control people, to monitor people, to indoctrinate. Well, we have been indoctrinating people now for a long time.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, we did many shows on mind control, right? There are devices out there that can do it for you. There's I mean, Goebbels, the master of propaganda, right? He invented modern propaganda. Right?
That's right.
And then you've got the advertising industry that really came into its own in the 40s and 50s in the world. And
they use the same methodologies, though.
Completely. Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, I mean, advertising, what's its purpose? The single purpose of advertising is to make you buy more stuff. That's it. There's nothing else. It serves no other purpose, right? And they got very clever at it, because the more stuff you buy, the more contracts these advertising agencies win, because everybody can see, oh, if I go with those guys, they get my stuff sold. That's awesome. In fact, we're selling so much stuff now that we have to build in obsolescence. We're so successful at selling stuff
That's right.
We're producing so much, we can't stop it now. The machine is going, so the stuff that we make has to be inferior, has to fall apart immediately after the expiration of the warranty period, right? It has to fall apart. So people buy more stuff. And it's, I mean, that's where we are.
Henry Ford started the model for next year, a year out.
Yeah.
And the only difference was the grille or the wiper blades, or there was nothing specifically different about it. In fact, it was the same everything else on the vehicle, except for a couple of changes, but you had to have next year's model. And we see the same with all our electrical gadgetry as well. They might make a single improvement, but that improvement was planned 2 years before the current model was even finished its run, or it was still live. So they're doing this to us in every way, shape, or form, and it is something that we are absolutely expecting. We do expect it. The thing you buy won't see you and be buried next to you. It won't make it. It just won't be something that'll make it to your death. For instance, you buy a broom, it's a plastic coated thin metal handle which will rust. You need Gilf and the Simpsons. That thing will rust on you, right?
Yes.
It's not a wooden handle where you're capturing carbon by making a wooden handle, because wait till we get back around on that merry-go-round. But it's a handle for the plastic head that isn't UV stable. You buy laundry baskets, Mecky, that you put your washing in, and you take it to hang it out outside. Remember those days when you hang clothes on a clothesline? And the basket's plastic isn't UV stable and becomes brittle over maybe one year of seeing the UV light. It is crazy. It really is. But we don't do anything. I think we've lost our voice. We've lost our determination to demand things. I watched the Beach Boys documentary tonight before the show. And one thing that stood out to me was the 60s and the revolution about saying, the status quo can't remain. The status quo of everything that had already been in place, which everyone just accepted, which was wrong, and they wanted to change it. And every one of those different vectors in which they demanded change, not all of them were successful at the time, but the voices were being heard, the protests were there. And at the moment, people are protesting a war that, yes, I understand, and I would protest every war. Doesn't matter who it's against and for. I think it's all wrong. So, but we're not complaining about the amount of surveillance on our person. We're not protesting the amount of input the government has on our lives, or how much touchy-feely stuff they have. I know, Becky, your greatest wish is that the government should stay out of our business. If they've got a country to govern, don't govern our personal lives.
Look, I'm probably a libertarian that doesn't believe in the free market, which is it's a contradiction in terms. It's a whole new
category.
Thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe in the free market because it doesn't work. Okay, I mean, in fact,
works for the winner.
We need to do away with capitalism as a thing. We need to do away with the idea that we have to achieve never-ending profits and growth. That's just stupid. Right? It's an insanity. Once you take that away, I think libertarianism is great, because libertarianism says, well, government, stay out of my business, thank you very much, until I need you, or until I maybe interfere with someone else. Then, okay, fair enough. Then you can step in and do what you need to do. But until that happens, stay away from me. I'm just doing my thing, right? There shouldn't be overtaxation either, because you don't have a mandate to micromanage everything, right? And if people were rational players, human beings that is, right, then that would work. Unfortunately, we are not rational players. In fact, we've been discouraged from being rational players all of our existence, pretty much. We are not rational players. We've been taught to, become indoctrinated with, and have these crazy ideas of unlimited wealth and achievement, and do all kinds of things that don't make any sense in the natural world. It just doesn't. But nonetheless, here we are, and that's how we were taught to live our life, become cogs in the machine. Because most of us, that's all we will ever be, cogs in the machine. Right? You won't be as rich as well, maybe not Trump, it's the wrong example, but Musk or whoever, or the Rothschilds, or whoever you might think is rich. It just won't happen that way, and yet we admire these people that achieve this on the cost of others, on the backs of others. I am sick and tired, Dave, of thinking about the world in those terms. I really am. It sickens me to my soul to see people suffer, and from stupidity and greed, really. And it doesn't get better. You think. I used to think, if I just work hard enough and I move up the ranks in the company or whatever, then I'll meet all the smart people, right? Because the people in charge, they have to be super smart, right? Let me tell you something. That ain't the case.
Not so much, that's right.
Not so much. Nobody. In fact, the worst of humanity gets together there, right? In the free market society. I mean, look at the system and who is rewarded. Look at Wall Street. Any kind. But Wall Street is endemic. The City of London, I don't care. Man. These people produce nothing. These people add nothing. There's no value in any of these people. None. Zero. But they're the highest rewarded players on the planet. Right? The most highly rewarded. There's no one else that comes close, really. Right? Especially being concentrated in such a small space. Shanghai is another place like that. It's the mind boggles, Dave.
I know,
Mind
doesn't
boggles.
it? Hang on a second.
Gives me a headache. I'm still suffering from the energy vampire.
I've
But you know,
I've been in a room with someone who just seemed to be able to suck all the joy out of the room.
yeah,
But I remember when we went to air first, and over those first few weeks, it just felt like we were completely drained.
yeah.
And then we spoke to other hosts, and they said they kind of felt the same until they got used to it.
Oh,
So I think we've experienced it before.
yes, yes. Oh, yes.
It's just how much do you have in the tank? How resilient are you because of your current energy levels? If you're a little low, it can, really render you, out of the game.
Oh, look. And look, to be honest with you, I mean, my youngest daughter dislocated her elbow on Friday, and my eldest daughter got sick, and she's still coughing. My wife was quite unwell over the last few days, so, and I didn't get much sleep. So that was, I mean, all of these factors come together, right? Would the energy vampire have had the same effect? No, because the thing is this: energy vampires are very, very clever. Right? It's only a few things they say or do that drains you, right?
Yeah.
And then, but if you're in the right center, you just have to take a step back and go, hang on a second. I don't care what you say out there. I don't care. Do your worst, right? Or whatever the energy vampire might say or do, right? Because once you realize that, but if you're low on energy and you're sort of only half there, then that fugue state, then it can actually affect you. The energy can just drain. So you have to be. See, this is the thing, Dave, and I realized this as well. You have to be on your guard because you never know where it's coming from. You have to be on your guard. It's the opposite when Dave and I meet. We walk away. I hope at least, that we walk away refreshed.
Totally.
It's like a refreshing encounter. I mean, there are other people like that I deal with where you feel like energized after you've dealt with them, spoken to them, and there's a mutual giving and taking of energy, but in the taking and giving, you're not left with you're left with more than you started with, both of you, which is really great. But yeah, man, look, I'm getting closer to retirement, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much longer I can play in the corporate world. I really don't know, man. I don't know. It is just soul destroying. It's the things that matter don't actually matter, right? And it is a place that we made, and people forget that. People forget that we made this world, or at least we allowed it to happen,
Yeah.
And now look at us. Oh yeah, what a wonderful place. It's wonderful. I mean, the Israelis called the recent attack in Rafah a tragic mistake, or something like that, right? Where children were burned so badly they fused together. And they couldn't be separated and had put in the same body bag. That's what you call a tragic mistake? Is that what you say? I don't even know. And and today they continued the offensive in Rafah. Didn't even, this wasn't even a change in stepping. There was no step change. Just bang, just keep going. Keep what you're doing. Of course we're going to keep going. And what did he say? It says in several news articles, Netanyahu vowed he would continue his war against Hamas. Really? This is about Hamas? Really? I mean, how much are they? I mean, they just launched rockets into Israel, didn't they? I mean,
I'm saying nothing about it. That I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed that the conversation isn't about Hamas keeping people in place. I looked at the history. Oh, I've only got a minute left, Mackie. It's your go ahead. Just
Oh, no,
just forget
cool.
me. No,
Oh.
it's all good.
Oh,
No.
for a minute, jeez, they're in Belfast.
It just does.
No, but it's funny. I've got this sinus headache. You know that you get. That's
Mm-hmm.
it's how my energy drains, I guess, from the center of my brain. There's the music. This has been Plato's Cave. Thank you so much for your time. We hope you enjoyed the hour. You know, there were some stark truths, but we don't lie to you, that's for sure. And we don't make it up. Don't go anywhere. I'm sure something awesome is going to come up. But most of all, be safe.